You can watch Arsenal versus Burnley and Man City versus Crystal Palace on Now TV for just €10. So what's stopping you? Putting up more Christmas decorations? Your house already looks like Santa's grotto. A family party? Your Aunt Mary has seen you 4 times this week already. Don't let anything get in your way. To treat yourself to a Now TV Sky Sports Day Pass and watch the games that matter to you for just €10, search Now TV Football today. Content streamed by internet. Full terms at nowtv.com.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is
When I found you, I saw raw, untamed power. And beyond that, something truly special.
Something inside me has always been there. But now it's awake. And I need help.
I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now. Let the past die. Kill it. If you have to. That's the only way to become what you were meant to be. Going to go the way you think. Fulfill your destiny.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
Hello and welcome to show number 91 of Coffee with Kenobi, your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, and rhetoric. I'm Dan Z here for a very special show. We're going to break down the brand new trailer for The Last Jedi, and I said we, so obviously on the show we have hosts, and we're doing this CWK old school because that's the only way to do it when you've got a trailer. You've got to bring your good friend, the co-creator of Coffee with Kenobi, Corey Clubb. Welcome back, Corey.
Hello. Thank you for having me out. And it's interesting because it's that time of year, right? It's not Christmas; it's Star Wars.
It's not Christmas; it's Star Wars. That's right.
Yeah, it's that funny feeling that you get. I almost kind of forget. Life gets going, and football season is in full swing. Baseball season is just wrapping up, sort of in the end. And our Cubs doing a really great job this season. I'm excited for them. But then, life kind of hits, and then all of a sudden, they drop a Star Wars trailer on our heads.
October 9th, 2017. It premiered halftime, of course, of the Bears-Vikings game, which is pretty cool because we're big Bears fans, too. Wait, you're not a Bears fan. You're a Seahawks fan.
Kind of a Seahawks fan,
Is that
my
what
friend.
You wrote today?
That's today, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's last couple of years, yeah.
Yes, I know. It was just fun. It's been a while since I've been able to mess with you, and I'm glad to have you here, of course, for the trailer, figuring out how to kind of schedule this thing, and it worked out beautifully. And we have no notes. We have not talked about the trailer at all, as is our tradition. So, hit me, buddy, your initial thoughts.
I love when Finn gets in that giant robot and he's walking around. He's like, get ready for the apocalypse. He's got his little robot friends running around. He's like shooting all these missiles off at these giant robots, giant alien things coming from the sea, and they like start melding together. And man, that trailer was incredible. downtown. They're fighting each other, and it's like there's rockets and explosions and yelling and screaming.
I hate to interrupt you because you're on a roll. You're like buttering
Sorry.
on a roll, but that's not the trailer I'm talking about, dude. You're talking about Pacific Rim 2, aren't you? Electric Boogaloo?
That's right, man. 2018 can't come soon enough.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll get to that one later, much later, as in probably never. So, what is your initial thoughts on the Last Jedi trailer?
The Last Jedi, of course, obviously. We're good fun here. Our good old ribbing, I guess. We can't stop that. But yes, The Last Jedi. You know, it's funny because my wife and I went away for the weekend, and like I said, life kind of just keeps on, moving ahead, and things like this happen. I knew it was going to happen. So we were driving home, and I got home, and I kind of told my kids about it. Said, "Hey, you guys, the new trailer just debuted during football. You guys want to go watch it?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." So we sat down and watched it, and my first initial thought was, "Wow, I did not expect that." And it's kind of hard to put in words for me. And I've been staying away from trying to break it down and analyze. I've only watched it, a number of 3 times so far. And I haven't really talked to anybody. I really haven't searched out anything, I guess. But it's got some impact, definitely. And I think that's something that everyone was excited for, that knew, obviously we're following these characters through their next step in their journeys. And this one just really just hits you right in the good feels. I mean, in the heart. I got goosebumps every time I watch it now.
Yeah. This is it's a powerhouse. This trailer is a powerhouse, and I've said before, and I still feel this way. If they did not release another trailer for The Last Jedi, it wouldn't have impacted me really all that much because I'm just ready to see the film. But this is where I think we're at with Star Wars. It's very easy to kind of be in our Star Wars fan podcast bubble and just sort of assume that everyone knows about these characters, about these things going on. Today in class, in my mythology class, I have 2 sections of it. At the end, I showed this trailer. And I would say 90% of my students hadn't seen the trailer.
Oh, really?
Experiencing it with them is very akin to watching a film with an audience, right, in the theater. It's just great to see how they react. And so a student comes up to me after class and he says, "Hey, I don't know what those adorable little things are, but I'm weirdly obsessed with them." And he showed me a picture of a porg. And I said, "Yeah, those are porgs, man. Those are really, really popular." And he said, "Really? How long have they been out?" I said, "Well, not too long, but they've really kind of taken Star Wars by storm." And so he goes, "This is really fun." So he just walks off, and I hear him talking about porgs with his friends, and I'm like, wow, this is happening. So it premiered on Monday Night Football, as we said. And so you're guaranteed a gigantic audience because Monday Night Football typically and historically has among the highest number of viewers watching it. So it's going to reach a lot of people. Saw the stormtroopers walking onto Soldier Field, which I thought was pretty cool. And I said, "Here we go." And all of a sudden, there was no warning or no green screen that says this trailer, Motion Picture Association. That's all. It just boom jumped into the trailer, and I just kind of sat there and looked at it. All these people make these amazing videos where they're laughing and gasping and crying and turning over tables and jumping off of chairs. And
reaction stuff, yeah, setting things on fire, sure.
Yeah, exactly. I don't do that. I feel like it would be the most boring video ever because I just sit there and just kind of look at it and I just sort of drink it in. And you know how people always say, "Well, I've got to read that again," or "I've got to go see this movie again to catch the things I missed." I almost never feel that way, but I always do when it comes to Star Wars trailers and seeing a Star Wars movie for the first time. I love it. Okay, I think it's really profound and I think it's heavy. I think it kind of like sits on your chest, and for some very specific reasons, which we'll talk about very soon. But I just was stunned by how powerful it was, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. And then when I woke up and went to school, and I didn't talk about it too much with anybody because I was trying to save it for the show. And then I showed it to my first class, and it just hit me. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. And not just in a, "Oh yeah, it's Star Wars, I love it" kind of way. More than just like this looks like a profound film. And you want to start jumping into like just sort of why we feel that way? You want to jump into
Sure.
the top things, or
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I think it's like you said, it's profound, it's big, it's huge, it's impactful. I think because I think in relative terms to any Star Wars, the trilogy, if you want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that second film has always seemed like it has a turning point. There's something up the sleeve in a sense that's gonna kind of rock your Star Wars world. And this definitely has that vibe. I mean, it definitely, we introduced the new characters, and here they are again. We know a lot about them. We there's some mysteries that are being revealed. We're all excited to see what they are going to do next. And I think that's where they're taking us. They hinted at in this trailer was like, okay, we're going to give you, what's going to happen next, the next chapter. I mean, the thing that got me the most was the feeling of sorrow. And just the music itself was really, dramatic. This isn't a fun, let's jump in a spaceship and have some space adventures. This has got some powerful moments, I think. And I think it's just in the words that are spoken by some of these characters, we only heard speak so few. I mean, Snoke hasn't spoken a whole lot. Luke obviously hasn't spoken a whole lot. This is his first words we have kind of heard in the sense of a sentence that makes sense to us as audiences. We hear him say in the first show, the Jedi have to end. What does that mean? That's a mystery. We still know what that means. And in this one, he still brings revelations to the table. And, it's just like, let's see how high we can kind of layer this, Star Wars pancake, if you will, and just layering on, thought after thought after thought. Who's Rey? What's she doing? What's Finn doing? Why is he fighting? All these people, and it's just like these explosions. And Poe says, they've got some kind of spark that'll ignite something. And Kylo Ren's doing his inner turmoil thing, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm getting to know these characters. I enjoy these characters. Something's going to happen here, and we're going to be, right front and center.
This you mentioned the fun jump in your spaceship thing. I think right away you see that this isn't going to be fun, and I don't mean that. It's not a negative thing.
No, right.
It sort of reminds me of, I don't know if you watch This Is Us, but
I don't. No.
Oh my gosh, it's a tremendous show, and it just rips your heart out every single week. And
that sounds wonderful.
Well, doesn't it though? And but in a really profound, beautiful way, because we're all a part of a family in many different there are many different types of families, friends and with family, and just your initial nuclear family, surrogate families, and just kind of has all of that. But when you watch it, it really takes a lot out of you. In fact, the other night, Deanna and I were getting ready to watch some stuff on the DVR, and I said, "You want to watch This Is Us?" And we were both kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that to myself right now. And I almost felt that way about this. That this is going to be so heavy, and it's going to be so impactful. And let's just kind of get into the reasons why, because we've certainly done a good job of introing it. But if you had to pick the number one thing that stood out to you about this, and you're going to jump into lots of different ways, but tell me the number one thing that just really just jumped out at you that you just can't get out of your mind.
I'll say it, and maybe it's towards the end, and I don't want to allude to anything. We don't talk about spoilers. I'm not trying to spoil anything. It's more about.
I think it's going to be okay, and I'll tell you why.
Sure. So for me, that impacted me the most was Kylo Ren holding his hand out to Rey and offering his support, and that I instantly thought back to Return of the Jedi, with Luke holding his hand out to his father, in the sense of, I'm with you in this struggle. Or, I see the other side of things. And maybe, you're right, exactly right. Maybe, that's the other thing I couldn't get out of my head was this whole thing. Is this for real? Are we getting a 180 when we see the real film? And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the, trick me a little bit. Get me excited and make me go one way and then juke the other way. And I think that's okay in that mode of storytelling. You're priming the audience for something, I would hope, even better than what you just saw. You know what I mean?
I do. And I was going to say this, but I'll just say it now.
Sure.
The way that they at least have framed and edited this piece, it sure seems like Rey goes to Kylo for guidance. I mean, that
Exactly.
is definitely what they're trying to show you. But I couldn't feel more strongly about this. There is absolutely no way that they are giving major plot points in this trailer. I just refuse to believe that. I feel like this is an amazing bait and switch. It's almost like they're they know, of course, they know all these fan theories and hopes and dreams that they have, and so they lay it down very much like it's there and it's just going to drive people wild. But you notice, of course, the thing that Luke says quite prominently and very intensely, this is not going to turn out the way you think. And that to me is a metacognitive way of looking at fandom and saying, no, whatever you're expecting, no, that's not what's going to happen. This is not going to be predictable. And Lucasfilm is not going to spend all this time and money on this sequel trilogy and tell you everything in a trailer 2 months before the movie comes out.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. And it needs to be said, too. I mean, because, and I'm not trying to say that for the casual fan. I mean, my kids watched it, and they were totally taken. They got them, right? I mean, they were, like you mentioned the porgs. I mean, my kids are like, what are those? What are the, oh, those are so cute. They were taken away with those, and that's great. I think they're like, well, I'm going to see what happens with those, but they're also like the revelations that it puts out there on the table. They know that Kylo Ren killed Han Solo. They know that. So they know the gravity of what could possibly happen. Now, there's nothing, not trailer. In that trailer, they didn't cement anything. They didn't cement anything at all. There's a lot of visuals we saw, a lot of things that like this could happen or that could happen. This could be part of this. Like you said, the editing is the guy or the folks who put this trailer together. And I'm assuming Rian Johnson had a big part in this.
Oh yeah. In fact, his Insta story has a cool thing showing them in the kind of their own little trailer war room, watching the reactions to it.
That's the thing too, that you have to come at this like saying, okay, what are fans talking about? What's the present feeling of The Last Jedi? Let's spit this right at them and spin it that way, because then they're getting what they want in a sense, but yet we're going to totally flip it around and give them something that's really really something different. But like I said, like the editing on this is superb. I mean, that's what I think. I think they're finally getting around to making trailers, enticing. They're getting around to like showing some action and showing some great big events, but yet tantalizing us with like what could happen or what might happen, and still wanting us to get us in those movie theaters and see these films.
Sure. So that's your thing that jumps at you and hits you the most.
Yeah, Kylo Ren. I mean, that last frame of him reaching out. Yeah, I think that's what got me the most.
Oh yeah, I mean it's oof. So the thing that hit me the most was Kylo Ren in that incredibly beautiful TIE silencer. I love that TIE.
Oh, when he does the little spin thing.
Yeah, in fact, I'm looking at the Hot Wheels version of it right now. But him talking about basically eliminating the past to be the person you're meant to be, and then it's very much. It's not subtle. It's very directly implied that he's going to kill Leia. I mean, that he's going to kill his mother. That's certainly what it looks like. And again, I don't feel like this is spoiler or speculation, because I think this is exactly what we just saw, and it made me sick. Like in a way that Star Wars has never made me feel. Just knowing Kylo Ren is so interesting to me because he's compelling, and you're just drawn to him because he's, first of all, his voice, the costume is super insanely cool, just beyond words cool. But you also despise him, like legit despise him because of what happened with Han. And then knowing that he would go after Leia, and you can't, it's almost hard to separate Carrie Fisher from Leia, and knowing that Carrie Fisher is actually gone. Now there's no connect between, Adam Driver and any of that, of course. That's absurd and ridiculous on every level. What I'm saying is, similar to Heath Ledger as the Joker, when you see this character on screen, you just can't not think about the fact that the actor who portrayed them is gone, is no longer with us. So knowing back into the story that he's may conceivably be going out to hunt down his mother, and the look on her face of it's just sadness. And the more with the new canon we've seen about Leia and the book that we're doing the CWK book study on, and everything she went through in The Force Awakens, and I just think, oh gosh, will you please leave her alone? Plus, she's your mother.
Right.
It just took so much out of me, dude. Like, I almost thought, if I show this in class anymore, I'm going to close my eyes or just look away for that part because it just really gets you.
She, and to mention Leia, she has such poise and the costuming, and she has such prestige,
Grace.
I think, in those shots. I mean, it just she's come into such a journey as that character, Princess Leia, and like you said, the books really wrapped into that really well, and seeing her, again on screen in this. As Carrie Fisher, as this character, it evokes a huge emotion, obviously, in light of real life events. I mean, that's the other thing too. It's like you kind of have to know what's going to happen in some regards. They've got something here that's real, that really connects us to the real world, and just tugs at those heartstrings, man. It's just, again, I applaud Lucasfilm and Rian Johnson for doing such a great job of editing and. Even this alone, seeing her in these few moments is just an excellent piece of film, and an excellent piece of just gravity to this character. And I want to step aside a little bit too and say that Snoke was a big part of this.
Before we jump to that, let's start. Sure. This is what I was sort of envisioning, and this may be one. But I think let's do like a top 5 in no particular order. We'll both do it, so we'll come up with 10 topics most likely, and then we'll talk about some things that maybe didn't resonate with us as well.
Okay. Yeah. I like that.
I don't want to cut off your. If you want to talk Snoke, go ahead, unless that's part of your. 5.
I mean, I'll start. It's part of my 5, and I'll just start with my Snoke idea or thought. So the trailer does start off with. It starts off with Snoke, his voiceover, right, and it's almost like he's echoing like a chamber or something. Then all of a sudden it cuts to like whispering into your ear, literally right in your ear. I thought, man, what a creepy feeling. And there's more to this guy, and we've seen him, in the action figures and some photography in the magazines and stuff. And I can't wrap my head around him. I don't know what he contains. And I think Andy Serkis does a great job of voicing this character again, because we only see him a little bit, some pieces in Force Awakens. So. And I hope he just unleashes himself, and as he does in this film. And I think he does a great job, even in this trailer, the voiceover parts, and just inching those, like we said, just leaving those threads open for us to go, what do you mean by that? Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of maybe my first point of Snoke's voice, kind of wrapping things in and kind of leading us into this trailer and giving us a nice introduction.
Okay, well, I'm going to come back to Snoke for the part where I'm not as crazy about.
Okay.
So remind me of that. But and what you say is interesting too, because Andy Serkis is, he's a visionary. He's
a gold standard, man. He's
a
huge.
Gold standard. Yeah, he's on a whole other level when it comes to performance and emotion. And boy, does he know how to send chills and scare the crap out of you too. By the way.
Yeah.
When did you notice, and Jeff McGee was texting us talking about this, he pointed this out to us, when Kylo is marching with the Stormtroopers, very reminiscent of Anakin, his march on the Jedi Temple in Revenge of the Sith.
It's interesting because I saw that shot, I think it's early in the trailer, and I didn't think of that prequel moment, but now that, Jeff was chatting at us and mentioned that, and I was like, oh man, he's exactly right.
Yeah, I knew it was important in Star Wars. But then I was like, oh yeah, okay, that is why. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So my number one thing that jumped out at me, and it might actually be the number one thing, is Luke. The looks on his face when he, specifically 2 things come out, but I'm going to just branch them into one. And one is when he says that I guess it's all the same scene really, but when he talks about he hadn't seen that kind of power and it didn't scare him enough then, but it sure scares him now. That's not verbatim, but it's obviously a reference to Kylo or Ben Skywalker more specifically. And there's that scene where that robotic hand, kind of punches its way out of the wood, and then there's the shot jumps back and you see Luke next to R2, which was Leia's vision. Not Leia's vision. I'm sorry, it's Rey's vision from The Force Awakens in Maz Kanata's castle. So we're going to get to see that story apparently, and I'm thrilled about that. I'm thrilled. I didn't know that we would see it then. I didn't know if it'd be something in a novel or like in a future film or whatever. But that hit me, and because at first I thought, is that Kylo Ren's hand? Is that Luke's hand? But I don't know. It must be Luke's, you'd think. But Luke talking about the fact that it scares him, that look of terror on Mark Hamill's face. And I thought, well, he has lost his way because the Jedi, they don't have fear. That leads to the dark side. And Luke triumphs against the dark side in a way no one possibly could have in Return of the Jedi. So that shows me, again, this is going to be murky and muddy, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for us as fans to find our way because this is just so unconventional, and I couldn't be happier about that, quite honestly.
Yeah, and I'll keep the Luke train going here as my second point. I'm excited to see Mark Hamill on screen. And we saw him in the first trailer a little bit, some voiceover and a quick scene. But this really brings out some action with him, shows him training Rey, has some nice voiceover and some revelation, like you mentioned. But just to see Mark back in that role, it's so exciting to see him do his thing. I think he's really come a long way bringing that character to the screen as well. I mean, to be silent in the first film and not have any words, but yet now everybody's got eyes on you, right? They're waiting on the tip of their seat just to see what you have to say next or what's really going on, because it seems like Luke really holds the keys to these mysteries that we want to know about the most. And is he going to give them up? Is he going to tell us what's really going on, or is he going to keep it close to the vest and play the exile? So it's almost scary, like you mentioned. A lot of these moments in this film are scary, and like really, like what's he like in this state? This older Luke, this Jedi master now. Is he a scared hermit that won't unleash his own power, or is he looking to get rid of all traces of the Force, in every aspect? We don't know why. We don't know what's going on. And I think that's a scary, very scary thing to know, because we see Luke as such a heroic guy in Return of the Jedi, saving the day and saving the universe, and saving his friends and saving his father. It's all these great moments. And all of a sudden now we see him as such a sad, hurt man that's aging and lost his way. And like you mentioned, that leads to the dark side. It's
the thing too.
It's hard to hear.
Yeah, it is hard to hear, because I think it's sort of hard to, love Star Wars, and of course we love Luke Skywalker, and we know him so well, and then you see him like this, old and afraid, and something. I mean, what kind of faith and power Luke has. So whatever happened to shake him to the core, to make him feel that he needs to leave the galaxy basically behind, and not intervene with what's going on, it's got to be something horrible. And so when you see Luke like this, and you know him but you don't recognize him, I think that is scary, because that scares kind of the kid in us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We always want to be Luke, and now I don't know if I want to be Luke anymore. That feeling of, man, what happened?
Your childhood is like, you're scared for Luke, maybe of Luke in a way, because you don't recognize him. We fear what we don't understand, and we don't understand what's going on with Luke. So, good. That's good. So, my number 2 is Kylo. And just that raw, that beautiful shot that every time I see it, it scares me, and it makes me also want to punch a punching bag. And it's when Kylo is holding the helmet and he's punching the wall as hard as he can. And there's that explosion. Boom, right after that happens. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah, that to me, and just hearing Snoke talk about the raw power, and then Luke referencing or alluding to what we assume is Kylo Ren and his power, and I just kind of think, again, I think there's a tendency, at least for me, when I think about Kylo Ren or I think about Vader, I always think I love Kylo, but he's like Vader light, because Darth Vader's Darth Vader, right? And he's my favorite villain in all of Star Wars. He's in all of film, and he's my favorite Star Wars character. But this is sort of a reminder that, look, Darth Vader's great, but this is a new bad in town, and he is more dangerous and more powerful than you can possibly imagine. And I'm scared of him. Like, I mean, not really. I'm not going to pee my pants, but when I think about him on screen and what he can do to these characters, and as you said, he showed us mortality because he murdered his father, fratricide. He killed his father, and he's like a dog with a bone, man. And he does seem conflicted, but it's just this power of him that it's really awe-inspiring and intimidating in the same breath. So that's my number 2.
I like that, and I'll stick with the same character just to keep the conversation going. I'm just making notes here, and Kylo is one that stands out to me again for this trailer, and I kind of seem to forget about him. Like you said, he's Vader light in the sense of like, oh yeah, he's just kind of a whiny guy who just gets mad and tears things up. But after seeing Force Awakens and seeing his struggle and seeing Adam Driver play that out so well, I mean, I didn't know what to expect from his character. He's so good. And I ended up really liking Kylo Ren a lot after that film. And not the fact that he was just some big baddie, but in the fact that he had to make a decision of which way to go, and he made it. And it was just like, wow, this dude means business. He's a bratty, of course, but I think that still drives him in the sense of, like you mentioned, that scene where he smashes his own helmet into the side of the wall there. Is that like a conflict thing? Like he's getting mad again? Or is it something like he's making another decision to go another way, make another choice? And obviously he has connection to Rey, which is, again, he's so big. I think there's something that we're going to find out more, and I'm excited to find out more. They've actually have a lot of relationship from Force Awakens that is kind of filtering over to this film now. There's a lot of vendettas and some anger and some some rage and some mystery, and there's a lot of like they've got something connected there from their battle, and something's connected to the Force through both of them. They I mean, you think about it, Kylo Ren, like she mentioned, it awakened her. Kylo Ren awakened her in the sense of the Force, and there's something there
to say that
from the Force Awakens. He was telling her how to use the Force, and in the essence of searching her mind and kind of waking the Force in her. That's how I believe.
Oh, and when the scene when she is and she's bound in that chair.
She's bound in the chair. Yeah, she's bound in the chair, and he's kind of asking her questions and seeing where it goes. But then again, they meet in the forest and have that battle of like, there's something going on here bigger than us, and that plays out still in this trailer. And I think it's something Kylo Ren has a big part in. Again, wrapping it back to Luke, there's connection there as well. I mean, we talked about Leia earlier, but then there's a Luke and Kylo Ren connection that we still haven't explored, that we're going to hopefully get to see. And like you mentioned, the background of what's going on there. There's some big ramifications here, and it all ties back to family and how those connections are weaved, and it's emotional. It's just impactful. It's exciting to see.
It is. It's crazy, man. This is just crazy. So, remind number 3. It's gonna be Phasma. I've always enjoyed the design of Phasma, but even before the film, I was just like, oh, okay, this is their Boba Fett for the film. Yeah, that's fine. And then I know she wasn't in the movie very much, and part of me is like, well, where is she? But I also was okay with that because really, Boba Fett wasn't in Empire a lot. He's really not in Jedi a ton either. And of course, Darth Maul's not in the Phantom Menace a lot, but when they're in it, they make an impact, right? Now, I don't think Phasma made quite the impact. I mean, it's just the way that she, got tricked into lowering the shields, which the comic book series really explores in a very, very intense way, which more on that in another time. But for this, seeing Finn in his Imperial, I assume he's in a disguise, and he attacks her, and she has this little sword come out, and so we're going to get to see them throw down, which had already been alluded to already by the actor who plays Finn, of course, and John Boyega. And so now that I was like, oh, okay, but now that I saw that, and you can see Finn reflected in her armor, which the lighting in this, and the lighting of Phasma's helmet is just a work of absolute art and just beautiful. So you have that beautiful image of the shining metallic armor with them dueling, and it just looks intense. And just from that shot alone, I feel like it looks like Finn and Phasma might be equals, which sort of seems hard to believe. And it's not that's something against Finn, but just because Phasma just, she's a powerhouse. So that was cool. That kind of hit me more than I expected it would have.
Yeah. What's one thing I'm going to say, it's like 50-50 for me for my next thing, number 4, is kind of the resistance in general. We get some voiceover from Poe saying they have something that will spark.
Yeah, that was nice.
The end. That was cool. But then they have the moment of Finn kind of saying, "Come on," and he's battling Phasma, and there's obviously some history there too. But then again, I kind of forgot that side of things, right? I'm so wrapped up in this Skywalker saga, and it's this lineage here. What's going to happen next with that I lose the idea of there's a kind of resistance, and there's some, the Empire, the New Order is kind of has a presence, and we see some of that. I kind of feel like that's kind of like second fiddle to this. Maybe it was more so in Force Awakens. They're kind of showing their might and their power, but this is like taking a back seat a little bit. Maybe just the way, again, this is edited and we're focusing on the Skywalker stuff and Luke and the characters and such, but I feel like it's a little bit 50-50. I want to see a little bit more Poe and Finn, and because I love Finn so much from Force Awakens, and seeing him kind of as a secondary character here and maybe doing his own thing, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I kind of want to see more and see what's happening, and I didn't see any other characters that we've talked about. Rose is part of the Resistance. She's a new character that seems to be coming to the forefront, and
she wasn't in this at all.
She wasn't at all, exactly. So I kind of I would say it was a highlight for me, but it kind of maybe a low light too. So
you mean just because the First Order seemed just so oppressive?
No, I mean in the sense of just the Resistance and the First Order, their presence in the film in general, the way this trailer made it out to be that kind of stuff is going on, but yet, we're going to really focus on, Rey's story and Luke and Snoke. And it seems like that was maybe it's just the way I think it was edited.
So you want
in
some
the
politics.
essence.
You want some Phantom Menace up in here.
maybe so. Maybe I'm just we didn't see any of his name's escaping me. The general that screams in Force Awakens.
Oh yeah.
I can't think of his name. The redhead guy.
Yeah. Oh,
and it's eluding me. I cannot come up with it.
Let's start this part over again. Because what is it?
Sure.
Hux.
Hux. Good call.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start over. So also, another person that's not included.
Maybe a 5-second pause will be easier to find.
Sure. So another part to me that's kind of empty is Resistance and the New Order, that clash, that they said maybe the politics has kind of run its course, or maybe it's taken a back seat. But we don't see Rose in this, like I mentioned, and we also don't see Hux. It's interesting enough to where are they at, or what's going on in that world aside from the kind of the main Skywalker saga or storyline, and it seems like it's just a little bit different to me this time around.
Huh. See, I took that in a different way, because to me, I feel like the First Order just seems so overpowering, and you got to remember that in The Force Awakens they destroyed Hosnian Prime. They destroyed in the new, basically the base of the New Republic, and bye good guys, and obviously the First Order took a major hit losing Starkiller Base, which is gigantic, much bigger than the Death Star. So they've both taken their losses, but it seems like the First Order didn't miss a beat, at least according to this. So yeah. and time wise, this is supposed to take place immediately after The Force Awakens. So wow, I feel like that's pretty daunting. So that's interesting. So that's your number 4. So that's more of a, it's a top 5 takeaway. That's more of a kind of a negative, or just sort of a...
I'd say 50-50. I was excited to see highlights from it, but also it seemed kind of like a low light to me. Sure.
Okay, fair. That's fair. Totally fair. My number 4 is Rey. And Rey has just become so important to me. So much more important to me than I ever would have imagined. I was totally thrilled to get new Star Wars characters, but she's family. We've talked about this before when we saw the teaser trailer at Celebration Orlando, but seeing her at the very end, in The Force Awakens, there was that quick scene where it looked like Poe was being tortured. Now we know that was more towards the beginning of The Force Awakens from Kylo. Mm-hmm. But seeing her suspended horizontally and just screaming and Snoke at the end of that, causing her pain. That made me angry too. Leave Rey alone. Not that Rey can't take care of herself, but she's obviously in a bad place. But even more than that, just when they show her, the way that she moves her saber, and we saw this in the teaser trailer too, but her poise and her just exacting nature with that saber, I can't imagine how much training Daisy really went into for that, but she's such a powerhouse and such a BA, and I love her. She's awesome, and she's really, seeing her interact with Mark Hamill is probably going to be the stuff of cinematic legend. So that, and just watching her with that saber at the beginning, the way, just when, if for some reason, whenever she ignites a lightsaber, I don't know what, they're doing it with Skywalker Sound with Matthew Whitner, but there just seems to like, boom, like just that huge raw hum of the lightsaber just seems like it's on overdrive, and it just sounds very powerful. And I feel like that's because of her.
Yeah. Oh, no. That's my fifth thing for me. It's Rey. I mean, much as we sit here and talk about Luke and Kylo Ren and Snoke and all these characters that we do love to see them journey on, Rey is still the central figure to this whole piece of the puzzle and this whole next part. I mean, she is something. So she's bigger than this, something that's going on, or I'm just kind of just blabbing on like you did just a few minutes ago, that she's got this power
in
that's
a good way.
In a great way. I mean, like you said, she's graceful. She's got grace, but yet she's got raw energy that just leaps off the screen, and it's a way that Daisy Ridley, to me, it really come to her own as an actress, I think. She is such a new character to this film still, but yet I think she does such a good job, even in the small bit of trailer that just makes you go, wow, she's going to be something else. I mean, because she's beautiful, but also she is just intelligent and ready to just focus. And I don't know, again, that's the part of the training part, but yet later towards the end of the trailer, she's on a mission to find out more and wants to know the truth and wants to know how she fits into everything. What's really going on? She's always kind of had that edge. I think she's that escapism of like, yes, I live on this desert planet and do my own thing, but yet there's something else out there. There's something else that I'm looking for, that I'm reaching for. I just don't know what it is. And I think they really kind of bring this home in this trailer, that she is searching for this. And does Luke give it to her? Like we mentioned way earlier, does Kylo Ren have the answers? We don't know. And so I think she's so big to this part of the saga that, again, like you mentioned, it's going to be something that's going to be very special. I think the Star Wars saga, from now until, it runs its course.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. My last one, we could probably have 10. I think we said that for the last two trailers. My last one is color and sound, but specifically color. Obviously, when we saw the logo for The Last Jedi, when they announced the title, we saw that red, and we're like, ooh, that must be something. And of course it's something. There are no accidents, but they don't always have to be everything either. I think this trailer shows, and the poster, this shows that we're seeing darkness, and red is a symbol of power, and it's also a symbol of blood and passion. And, Crate is covered with this red smoky haze, and, of course, Kylo's lightsaber, and there's this red light around Kylo Ren at the beginning of the piece, and it just seems like there's red imagery everywhere. And it just kind of hits you like in a very majestic and ominous way that is, again, it's hard to shake. There's so much about this, and juxtaposing that with the score, which I'm assuming it's John Williams. I know that the music for the trailer for the Force Awakens wasn't all John Williams as far as conducting, but this sounds pretty haunting and beautiful. Like when they show the Lucasfilm logo, that I kept expecting and wanting almost desperately for them to start playing the Imperial March, but they didn't. They played something else, and it still had the echoes of the highlights of the Force Awakens' soundtrack too. But they're setting a scene. Again, Rian Johnson, we haven't even seen this film, but I'm just in love with his style and the way he's channeling this film and moving this mythology in a brand new direction. It's very bold, very, very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll hop on the red boat there just to tag on to what you're saying, and just from a design standpoint and a color standpoint, red. I mean, look around. Next time you're in a store, look at red. Look around, and you'll see it pop. Usually against white and black, you'll see that red is one of the best colors to go with when wanting to catch people's eyes. Look at Coca-Cola. Look at different labels, logos, and such. And you see red's Target, exactly. There you go. I mean, it's the essence of, like you mentioned, it's blood, it's love, it's strength. It's this rawness, this lust. I mean, it has such energy in it about it, but it's just a color that just drives you. It's almost like we've talked about this entire time. It's a passionate thing. When you see the color red, and in this, it's all over the place. You sent me the poster, the brand new poster that came out yesterday as well. And again, it's all over this place. We only see one piece of blue from her lightsaber on the poster, a little bit of blue in Luke's face reflection. And that's the other thing too. It just pops. It just calls to us almost as like the human nature of the way we see things, the colors we see that. That rip us in certain ways, make us feel a certain way, and that's exactly what they're going for. They're going for a feeling. They're going for an emotion. This isn't just some, again, space adventure. This is gonna be impactful. It's gonna be large and big and huge, and it's just all around. I think it's gonna be exciting thing to behold.
Absolutely. Before we move into the things we weren't as enamored with, are there any other honorable mentions that you would like to bring up?
Again, you mentioned kind of the color and stuff, and I'll kind of jump aside. The music stood out to me. You mentioned that as well, and kind of it's a little bit different, but also the same in the sense. And I'm not really big at picking out which musical cues go with what, but I definitely felt like hurried. It felt excited. It felt emotional. Again, pulling on those same threads of human nature. It was really exciting, but also the costuming was really cool. I mean, the one that stood out to me the most was the one that Leia's wearing. It's almost like a nice big collar on her. It's regal.
Yeah,
she's got something about her that the way she wears her hair even is almost like it's almost like a powerful force of energy. Don't mess with her. She's got something behind her that you don't want to, you want to, I want to, I say like take a knee to, you want to, give her some grace, or, I mean, you want to be able to take a knee and say, yeah, I'm pledge my, whatever my life to you, or something, in the sense of like, I'm saying a princess, but I'm also saying there's a regalness to it of lore and sense, and you're better at the kind of picking those things out. But there's, but then again, the backdrop is this kind of this dirty, dark cave-like, gross, grounded stuff that's, rocks are flying out. There's explosion, there's fire, and there's other things like that just like almost rub you the opposite way, that they're dirty and old and gross, and so there's a nice clash there of imagery, of that kind of nature, and again, it's just goes to show that they're putting together such a great film.
That's right, and none of it is accidental. I've got some theories about the rocks and the organic nature of this, but I'm going to wait until we see the movie and we'll really jump in. All right, so this, as far as I don't really have any honorable mentions, I feel like we hit it pretty well, because even though it's over 2 minutes long, there's still just very segmented specific things to talk about. Now, there are some things that did not hit me in the same way, and there are definitely two that jump out. But the first one for me is Snoke, and this is just purely from a fan perspective. I don't like him at all. He's grotesque, and you're not supposed to like him. I mean, sure. Let's face it. When we saw Return of the Jedi, at least for me, the first time I saw Return of the Jedi, and this isn't revisionist history. This is just a fact. I just thought he was some grumpy, cranky old guy that was bossing Darth Vader around. But I was 9 or 10 or whatever. You know what I mean? So what did I know? But after seeing the prequels, from the Force Awakens on, Ian McDiarmid's performance is just so charming and intoxicating and frightening. And the Emperor's, cool. He's a cool character. I mean, I don't like what he does. I don't like how he treats everybody. And it's just obviously not a good thing. But the Emperor is still a character that I like. I don't like Snoke, and I don't really have much to base it on. But I saw what he did to Rey at the end, and how he's tried to tear apart this family and this galaxy. And again, he's not a handsome fellow.
No, no.
Whatever happened to him, who knows? But dang, I'm so repulsed by him, and I want him to get his comeuppance, and so he's just one that, I guess I can't imagine there being the same kind of fervor for him that there is for the Emperor, but I could be wrong. I mean, we'll see. But right now, he's on my list. Like,
he looks like one of those guys. Dude. Looks like one of those guys that looked at the arc a little bit too long, but looked away. So I don't know. No, I agree. I mean, the scene you mentioned early on of him almost bending Rey over backwards with his power of the wind, of the Force. I don't know. It's
very similar to what Kylo did. I mean, in how he could hold a laser blast in the air.
That's different.
He's levitating Rey. I mean, she's in great pain.
So in that scene where she's over and she's in great pain, and she's kind of doing the Matrix thingy. I thought that was a little weird. To me, she seems like she's getting blown over by the wind or something, and it looked weird to me. And I guess it's one of my first kind of nitpicks. I mean, like I said, it's not the worst thing, but it just seemed awkward. The way to just if he was going to blow her over, why would her body bend like that? That doesn't seem natural to me. Anyway,
we'll watch it again, because to me it's just like Kylo when he in the beginning of the Force Awakens, how he's just holding that blaster in midair, and then while he's talking to Poe.
That's a blaster bolt. This is a human body.
Well, exactly, but he is levitating something in the air and creating kind of a stasis where they can't move.
Yeah.
To me, that was just like him showing how powerful he is. I mean, we know how powerful Rey is. I mean, Luke just seems like when he sees her cracking the rocks, and he just can't believe it.
Yeah.
To me, it's sort of hard to believe that Luke would be that shocked by the power of the Force. But again, this is a very, very small sample size. We don't know what's going to happen in the film yet.
Sure.
We will sooner rather than later, though. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, he's
his eyes kind of go wide. He's like, oh wow, this is unique.
Right. So that was your number one.
I think so.
Okay. Well, tell me your number two first.
And I had it. I'm trying to think. I'll be honest. I wasn't
number two.
I do. I mean, maybe it's a nitpicky thing. So, Luke is training Rey. Obviously, we know that's going to happen. She's swinging lightsaber around. She stops right at that rock. And I was like, well, why is she stopping right there? Like, I'll see her. There's a lightsaber. Let's slice through something. That's
rocks.
Cool. I don't know. It just seems like
that's what I love.
Right there. Is that like she's controlled, or is she more like, she finally got it. She finally didn't cut the rock. For earlier, practicing, she kind of cuts through the rock, and it's not. The whole idea is not to cut through the rock. I don't know. It seems like a weird way to stop the lightsaber in that motion. Is that I don't know.
See, anybody can cut through a rock. I mean,
maybe that's
a Porg could take a lightsaber and do that. They don't have they can't grip it.
The little wings. They're like little penguin wings.
No, that's the thing. When I mentioned Rey is one of my top 5 things. It's like using a form, like a samurai or a sensei or something. Someone that is a master.
But look, the rock is formed right. There's a little curve in the rock that she's hit it a couple times.
It shows how exacting she is. A good fighter, a strong fighter, can stop right above that, or they can go through. To me, that just shows how strong she is.
Would you put an apple on your head and let her just take a swipe at it? Would you be okay with that?
An apple?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It's not the same thing. I mean, to me, that shows how in control she is. I think that shows her power.
Okay.
So, but now mine. I can't imagine anyone will disagree with this, just because. Come on. Okay.
I might.
CGI Chewie expressions.
Okay, yes,
Come on.
thank you.
Like, okay,
Thanks.
we've seen Chewbacca in, well, he's not in the Phantom Menace. He's not in Attack of the Clones. But he's in Revenge of the Sith. So he's in The Force Awakens. So he's in 5 films. Now this will be 6, and 7 when the Han Solo film comes out. But we've seen Chewie in a lot of ways in a lot of different situations, and he's expressive just by the way he nods and tilts his head and the sound effects that Ben Burtt created. But we don't need CGI eye-popping Chewie. That, first of all, not only do we not need it, but it just did not look strong. Like, I mean, you could tell that took me out of it for a split second. And this powerful trailer's, crashing through your TV like a freight train. And then there's this brief moment of, oh, look at CGI Chewie. Like, it was hard to miss that. And I hope that they get polished up a little bit before, but they're already done with post. So who knows? And, I'm sure I'll get over it. But it's kind of nagging at me a little bit because I just, come on, we don't need that.
Yeah.
That's like people complaining about the CGI Gophers from Crystal Skull. Although that didn't really bother me too much. But they're not major characters.
True
He's
enough.
a major character.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is like here is a film that comes along with one of the best, probably the best special effects art house in the biz. I mean, like, these guys are like the ones to do it all. And
They're ones
again, like I said,
I think they're going to have a future.
I think so. But to have this, and the other thing is that's not a trait of Chewie anyway. His eyes don't, flap like that when he's
not Marty Feldman.
Excited. Who?
Young Frankenstein.
Oh,
Igor.
That's good. That's true. Walk this way. No, and that's a good thing to point out because I agree with you. It's not in his character, and I think I've had a hard time with Chewie since Force Awakens. He's not himself. He doesn't seem to age, which I assumed he would kind of like have some kind of gray hair or something. I feel like they've just kind of like put him in there just because it's Chewbacca. Let's throw him in there,
Really?
And I feel like
Did you feel that way for The Force Awakens?
A little bit. I felt like they could have done more with him. I think they could have. It just seemed like a little bit robotic. He doesn't seem like the old Chewie, I guess. That's what I'm trying to.
I thought that he was almost perfect in The Force Awakens. Because he had aged just like Han had. So Chewbacca's around like.
It's a little old.
Okay. So Chewie, the Battle of Endor is 30 years before The Force Awakens, right?
Yeah.
So Chewie was a 200-year-old Wookiee in A New Hope. And so he's about...
You doing Wookiee math? Is that what you're doing now?
No,
I
have a Google machine.
Oh, a magical Google machine. Okay.
So Google it tells me, and makes sense. 34 years after the Battle of Yavin is The Force Awakens. So Chewbacca's about 234 years old, but in Wookiee speak, I don't know if that makes him middle-aged or older, but I'm sure he is. But I don't know. I just...
Gotta be up there.
I loved his vibe with... he's not like the cover of AARP or anything like that, but I just liked how he vibed with Harrison Ford in that. I thought that was...
Well, let's move on to the next kind of, curmudgeon thought. Is he hanging out with porgs now? Is all he does?
Well, I mean, there's going to be a book called Chewie and the Porgs.
That sounds like a band. Chewie and the Porgs. It sounds like a I don't know, 80s rock band that didn't make
Elton John song.
Chewie and the Porgs. Yeah. It's Benny and the Jets. No, it's weird. The Porgs, much as fun they are, it's kind of like, let's throw it in there for the kids, and that's okay. I guess I get it. It's always been that way, but it just took me a little bit out of the motion of this trailer. I mean, getting back to this thought, but it's just like those eyes pop with Chewie, and then all of a sudden we see a Porg go, meh, what's a Porg doing on the Millennium Falcon?
Well,
is that the new co-pilot?
Maybe it seems to be a stowaway of some sort. Interesting, because to me, I was like, thank you.
You have a stuffed Porg.
I do.
You sleep with it every night? Is that something you snuggle with?
I found it. I can't even.
You captured it. You took it off the shelf. I was there.
Took
it on the shelf and snuggled with it a little bit on the car ride. Oh, does he? Okay. Good.
Yeah, he does.
Very good.
And I think they're so charming. I do love porgs. I really do. And we've been talking about this a lot in the past few months, really.
Porg count going, right?
The porg count. Yeah, it's significantally decreased, but it's
hashtag porg count.
Exactly.
Pork. There's
Thanks
some more.
to Steven and Roku Depot for that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Now, when I saw it, is extremely Shakespearean. The comedic relief in the midst of all this turmoil and angst and just severe depression. So just seeing, even in the trailer, seeing the pork every time makes my heart take a little bit of a break from the heaviness. And I think now that I see how heavy this is going to be, we have actual evidence to support this instead of speculation and hypothesizing. Now I'm glad they're as cute as they are because we're going to. It sounds like we're going to need it.
Did you say support this?
Yeah.
Support this. Okay, gotcha.
No, you know what I mean? Like we're going to need that levity during all this heaviness, and they're going to be a welcome respite from whatever is going to follow.
You know, to be honest with you, I don't have, and I hate the nitpick on this stuff because there's not much. There really isn't.
I just wanted to talk about how much I didn't like the CGI Chewie expression. That's really
and that's perfectly fair. I think. I mean, the other thing is like, there's not really a whole lot of other lowlights that I can think of that come to mind.
Either.
I mean, I would like to see more of certain characters, but then again, I think that's just my own personal. You know, I want to see more Poe and Finn, and obviously in the Resistance, and just seeing where those characters go. I mean, but again, it's this. I think this trailer was done so nice.
Almost to perfection.
It really is. I mean, again, like you said, I mean, I think in this day and age of making films and releasing stuff on the internet via, Monday Night Football and knowing who's watching and knowing what the reaction will be and just playing on that, they did such a great job on this. And I think that other filmmakers and other franchises should take a note saying, hey, we, did this in a way that I would hope that would get people excited about it, but yet leave them wanting so much more. And like you said, I think that Luke says such a great way that, this is not how you expect it's going to end or something that ends up like, you're going to get something else. This is just a little tip of the iceberg of what a possibility of a road we can go down.
Exactly. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of the analysis and the rhetorical way of looking at things that we're going to continue to do on Coffee with Kenobi as we get closer and closer to The Last Jedi. Before we sign off, is there anything else you wanted to add?
I think I'm going to be done watching it. Maybe one more time just to look back on some of your thoughts. But, I mean,
I agree.
Our friend Jeff mentioned that he's done watching it. He's going to maybe, if he sees it, on a trailer for a new film and seeing it in theaters would be fine. I'd be okay with that too, just for experiencing. But, it's like, okay, flip off the switches. We're in shutdown mode. We're getting closer. It's really feeling real. And it's exciting to see this. And I was almost on the idea of like, do I watch this trailer? Do I want to watch the trailer? I was really on edge to see what I will do.
That. Yeah.
And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad we got to talk about it. I'm glad we can exchange ideas and get the conversation going. And it's exciting for me again as a Star Wars fan to jump back into this season of Star Wars and this new film. I'm excited to see it. And again, I think this trailer did a great job of hyping that up.
I agree, and yeah, I purposely have avoided, too much of it conversation yet. Now that because I want to wait and talk to you, and just because it's always good to you help me kind of think of things differently. So I of course always appreciate that. Always fun to talk to you. It's like you've done this before.
I have.
I'm having deja vu, or is it vuja?
Maybe having deja vu. Very good.
Please let us know what you think. Write in, send us an email or an MP3. We'd love to break it down and process it with you because there's a lot to soak in with this and a lot of power, of course, with what's going to happen in The Last Jedi. We can't wait to see it. So with that, we will close out today's conversation about The Last Jedi trailer. Thanks again, Corey, for coming back on the show and being your usual awesome self. Where can people reach out to you if they want to ask you a question or just say hello?
Sure, you can contact me on Twitter, Facebook, email, CoreyC@coffeewithkenobi.com. Just anywhere. I try to get on every once in a while and interact. Feel free to reach out and get a hold of me or drop a question or just shoot me a message.
Absolutely. So thank you again to each and every one of you for listening to and supporting Coffee with Kenobi and for contributing to Star Wars Conversation. We'll be back very, very soon for show number 92. And if you're participating in the CWK book chat, be sure to have chapters 9 to 15 of Leia, Princess of Alderaan ready to go. And stay tuned to Instagram and Instastory as you see more and more of the big thing coming this way. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along. Move along.